Hey guys, okay, welcome to part 2, and there's no way I'm going to go over all the specs of the iPhone. Those are posted everywhere. Many people's done videos. You all can check those out. I just want to give you my opinion on a few of them. Excuse the noise in the background if there is any. I'm sorry. A lot of people tend to be underwhelmed, and a lot of people are overwhelmed. I'm one of the overwhelmed ones. You know, I was one of the skeptical ones that said this wasn't the iPhone. There's no way it could be the iPhone. Because the way Gizmodo covered it just did not look like something from Apple. And when Steve displayed it, I can see the elegance. You know, starting with the glass display. The front and back glass is going to help improve reception so much. And on top of that, they've got this new antenna. When everybody said, oh, those lines, they look like crap. Well, you know, those have to do with the antenna. And this is something I was wrong about. And the border, as you know, for the phone, the metal border is the what? The GPS, the Bluetooth, the Wi-Fi, all that in one, the cell phone. And on top of the glass back and this new antenna they've got, I think AT&T has absolutely no more excuse as to why the network is down besides it being their fault. Because everybody's been skeptical. Well, the iPhone might not be receiving the signal very good, the way it's built. Blah, 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 blah. Look at the iPad. It's proof. You know, the iPhone's the same way, so you can't blame it all on AT&T. Well, now that the iPhone 4 is out, there's going to be nobody to blame but AT&T. If the reception gets completely, all of a sudden, better, then maybe we can say, well, maybe the iPhone had something to do with it. But I don't think it's going to improve it that much. Because now that we've got Netflix on the iPhone and video chat over, you know, over Wi-Fi, you know, of course it wouldn't be over 3G. He said they had to work with the carriers on that, and I'm sure that they do. I mean, this is just hindering progression. You know, all this way to grab data and information over their networks, and they're capping us. It's just ridiculous. But that's a different video. So on top of this glass back and glass front, that's twice as, you know, durable as before. That's huge. The antenna, that's great. This is great news. And the more I look at it, the more beautiful the thing looks to me. It's now the thinnest phone in the world. Okay, it can actually go in a shirt pocket now. It could before, but I mean, now it's going to be even easier. The display, 320 pixels per inch. Steve said something about, you know, the human retina can't pick up any more than 300 at a maximum of 12-inch distance, so they're over the mark, so they've got plenty of room there. So from what I'm hearing, the display is an absolute work of art. A work of art. And as Steve said, the display, your display is the window into your digital world. You know, it was a little pun at Windows, I think, because he said this is the best window you're going to have. And it is. He said that the display is arguably the #1 most important thing you're going to have, because it is the window into your digital life. And now that we have this new Retina display, when you pick up an Evo or an Incredible, you're going to say, God, that does not look near as nice as the iPhone display. You know, because you need to get it through your head. Bigger is not always better. If you just throw bigger at a problem, sometimes that won't fix it. Sometimes that won't fix the issue. Now, if you can somehow get bigger to be better as well, bigger's always better. But you can't sacrifice size for quality. I would rather have a crystal clear, sharp, popping display than I would just a little bit bigger display. That's going to make it gaudy anyway. Okay? They give us this front-facing camera, which is wonderful, which, you know, has been around for a while on other phones. But when Apple implements something, they implement it right. And people, the mass, will take notice now. You know, they're going to be like, oh, now there's video on my iPhone. Most people that use the iPhone don't care about these other geek phones. They don't care. They're going to see it come to the iPhone, and to them it's going to be the first and best way that they've seen. Because all these other general consumers, not tech geeks like me or you, they're not going to know about these other phones like they do the iPhone. And when they use the iPhone, they're going to be blown away. HD recording now, this is huge. Come on. And iMovie on the iPhone, this is a huge deal. Now we can record movies on the fly and actually edit them and title them and have an excellently edited movie, and we can just send it off right off from our phone. you know, this is not only a business phone, this is a consumer phone, and nothing backs this up more than iMovie coming to the iPhone. This is going to change the way people make movies. I mean, it brings back to mind that Mac vs. PC commercial when the Mac comes out with this beautiful lady and says, "Hello, this is my home movie," and PC comes out with a dude dressed in drag and he says, "This is my PC home movie." That's exactly what it's going to be like. When you start receiving movies from people who have an iPhone 4, they're going to be in HD resolution, they're going to be edited, titled, they're going to have transitions, and they're going to be just like a real thing. And when you receive a movie from another phone, like an Evo, it's not going to be edited, it's going to be just what you shot is what you get, and you're going to know right then and there, this wasn't shot on an iPhone. You know, it's just the quality. Just one more little thing in the quality of the way things go down with Apple. They don't just throw features in there to say they have features. What makes Apple so special is what they leave out. They don't implement something until they know they can implement it right. Like everybody says, well, I want my Droid because it does multitasking the right way. It does true multitasking. And I'm sorry, Apple's way is multitasking. And Apple has figured out a way to do this multitasking without killing your battery. If you're running all these processes in the background on your Droid, you're not going to get hardly no battery life compared to the iPhone. And on top of that, the Android phones suck the battery life anyway because they allow you to use flash and all this great stuff that you all want to have, which is going to end up making you have to carry a charger around with you or 20 spare batteries because you're going to have to plug it in every 2 hours. Whereas with our iPhone, they pretty much doubled the battery life. 300 hours of standby time versus 150 on an Android phone. That is double. Double. So on top of the glass display, the Retina display, the resolution it's got, the HD video camera with this new illumination sensor that it's talking about having, because when you compare the 5 megapixel picture from the iPhone and compare a 5 megapixel pic from just a regular 5 megapixel camera, you can see the iPhone takes a much better picture. Again, bigger isn't always better. You don't jam a 10 megapixel digital camera into your phone just to say you have 10 megapixels, just to say you have the biggest. Apple worries about quality. It would rather have a 5 megapixel camera that takes better pictures than be able to boast and say they have an 8 megapixel camera, when in reality that 8 megapixel camera doesn't take any better pictures than that 5 megapixel camera because of the quality and stuff that's went into that. By the time Apple gets up to 8 megapixels, it's going to be the equivalent of their 10 megapixels. And that's the way it is. Apple isn't always first to have all the technologies. Usually they're the first to drop old technologies and pick new technologies up. But they're not always first to adopt new technologies, and they're definitely not known to stuff features in there just to say they have these features. They're not known just up the size of their screen just to say they've got a bigger screen. Apple is just not like that. It's getting the A4 processor, which everybody who's used an iPad knows how the iPad is an absolute screamer. And now when it comes to the iPhone, it's going to be, I'd say it's going to be even faster because it don't seem like it would have to do as much. I don't know. Gosh, there's so much stuff that I'm probably not covering here. The PDFs have been added to the iBooks. That is a huge deal. And iBooks have come to iTunes, to the iPhone. That is a huge deal. When you look on the inside of this iPhone, you can see how this is engineered so brilliantly. And you can see that the Evo and Incredible are just stamp book phones. That's all they are. They're knockoffs. Okay? Android is not a phone. It's an operating system. Proof is in the fact that why isn't there any iPad competitors right now? Because people can't do it. They can't pack what Apple's packed into a 10-inch device, as little as it is, keep the price at $4.99 and keep the performance up. They can't do it. If they could do it, they would have done it. The closest people to doing it are Google and HP, and they haven't even done it yet. Okay? And the same thing is going to be with this iPhone. You're going to be able to tell a distinct difference. Nobody appreciated the iPad until they got it in their hands and started using it. And the same thing is going to be true with this iPhone. You get it in your hands and start using it, you're going to understand instantly the quality, the superior quality that this phone has over all these other little pieces of shit HTC's phones that are out there running around trying to imitate the iPhone. Hey, look at me, I have a 720p screen. Hey, look at me, I got a front-facing video camera. Okay, great. Our iPhone has that too. You know, a few weeks behind, a few months behind the Evo and Incredible, or however long it is, but now the iPhone is there too. That gap has now went to nothing. Okay, so what that means is it's actually springboarded Apple in front, because now that they've closed the feature gap, the build quality gap comes into play, and Apple jumps ahead. Because everybody knows Apple's phones are built brilliantly. My iPod Touch was set outside in the rain, and it went out, quit working, it dried out for 3 days and started working again. These things are built really, really well for what they are. Am I going to be getting one as soon as it comes out? No, absolutely not. I have a 3GS, and we'll be getting a new OS and everything, and I'll be getting me a new iPhone around the end of the summer, okay? With the data plans the way they are, I'll be getting my wife one. I'll stick to the 3GS because of my principles, but with the AT&T plan on an iPhone, it ain't going to be that big a deal because I don't use that much data on an iPhone. With my iPad, it's a big deal, and I'm fucking pissed about that. But that's a different story altogether, my ban of AT&T. You know, I'm not going to forsake myself these beautiful Apple products because of AT&T, but that don't mean I can't give them a hard time and give them hell every step of the way. And as a matter of fact, I will end up getting a new iPhone for myself. I'll get one for my wife sooner than I'll get one for myself, you know, because me and my wife, we share phones a lot and stuff. And I just got an iPad, you know, and I'm sure iPad 2 will have the glass back and the new antenna and all that good stuff. I'm sure the iPad will have everything the new iPhone is getting. It'll just be a generation behind, you know. If it wasn't for AT&T, I might pick up 2 iPhones. Instead of one just for my wife, I might pick up 2. But out of sheer principle, I'm going to wait a few months, a couple months, or, you know, a few months to the end of summer, just to make myself feel better. Because I told myself, I'm not buying a goddamn iPhone. I hate that I have to make Apple suffer, but I'm not buying one because of AT&T, you know. And now that I've seen the iPhone, I want one. I want one so bad. But I told myself I wasn't going to do it because I didn't want to give AT&T my money. It'd make me sick. So now I'm in this dilemma. Do I want to go back and you know, cross off my principles and just go ahead and give them my money and bite the bullet and get my new iPhone because I love it so much and then switch when Verizon comes available? Or should I forsake this beautiful product because I want to make AT&T suffer? And the more I think about it, the more I realize I'm not making AT&T suffer by not buying the plan. I can make AT&T suffer by spreading bad words about AT&T, to telling people the truth to stay away from AT&T, put their reputation in the gutter. I can do more damage to them that way than I can by just not giving them my $25 a month. So I'll probably end up forsaking my principles and getting an iPhone because it's so damn nice. But that don't mean I have to like it, okay? A lot of, moving kind of fast here, a lot of people want to say, well, I was hoping for more kind of geeky, you know, features, you know, notification features and this and that, you know, Wi-Fi syncing. And what people don't understand is with Wi-Fi syncing, Apple has a lot of issues that other people don't have issues with because of iTunes. You know, when people sync their cell phone to iTunes, they're going to want to sync their music, their movies, their rentals, movie rentals, podcasts, and all this stuff where content providers are holding onto their stuff with lock and key. And I know there's no DRM on music anymore, but there definitely is on movies. And syncing those things over Wi-Fi, those huge files, and this, and that, and the other, I'd say there's a lot more involved to it than just enabling Wi-Fi syncing because you can only use your stuff on 5 computers, so your phone has to have a way to figure out, is this one of the computers? Will your phone count as one of your 5 computers? You know, does your phone count as one of your 5 computers? I can't remember how that works. If I have a movie and I have it on 5 computers, can I put it on my iPhone? Does that count? I can't, because I don't ever take movies onto my iPhone. I never do that. I put them on my iPad, but I don't ever put them on my iPhone or iPod much. But what I'm saying is, what I'm getting back is, you know, I'm really talking out my ass here, but it seems to me like Apple would have a lot more barriers to overcome doing Wi-Fi syncing because of iTunes stores and MobileMe and all this good stuff than other carriers would enabling it. So there's a lot Apple has to do, and Steve Jobs said at D8 that they're working on that. And I'm sure the same as it is going to be with that as it is with multitasking or anything else. They're not going to do it till they can do it right. And one of these days we'll get it. And when we get it, everybody else will say, hey, we finally got it now. And everybody else will be screaming, hey, we've had that for a year. We've been doing that for a year. Why are you all Apple fans getting so worked up over features we've had for a year? And all I can say is you just don't understand. Because when Apple finally does something, it solidifies it. It is adopted by people who are not into the geek world. Right now, most people who appreciate Android are geeks. That's changing. But because it's getting on so many phones, people go in looking for a cell phone and they buy a cell phone and Android happens to be the operating system on it. They don't care. Just like people used to go into a store and buy a cell phone that would have Windows Mobile on it. They don't care. They just want a nice, cheap cell phone. If it comes with Android, then so be it. They don't care. They don't know one way or the other. It's not like these people are going in saying, I want a phone with Android on it. No, most of these little phones, people just go in and buy a phone and they have Android on them. But I think this overall has been an outstanding release. It's closed the gap completely on the hardware and probably took Apple ahead a little bit because of the battery and the display and the build quality and the antenna and all of that good stuff, plus the software like iMovie and stuff. So not only have they closed the gap, but they've kind of jumped ahead because of their build quality and the way they meticulously do things. So the 3GS might have been lagging a little bit, but now that the iPhone 4 is out, they're right back on top. And now everybody else is going to be scrambling. They're going to be putting out faster processors, faster, bigger screens, higher density pixel, higher res screens, this, that, and but you know what? Nobody's going to care because everybody wants an iPhone, and this has been a spectacular release. I commend Apple for it. People say, well, they concentrate too much on the iPhone here lately. Well, I agree to some extent, but you got to think, that was just Apple Jobs' keynote. WWDC was going on, covered everything. There were things there for everybody. It wasn't just about the iPhone. Just the keynote was. As far as WWDC goes, there are plenty of things there going on with the Mac and stuff. And that just tells me, as far as iTunes streaming, new Mac Pros, new Mac Minis, new 27-inch displays, all this tells me that this is going to happen. They're going to be refreshed. It's going to happen. So we have all this stuff to look forward to this year. New iPods are going to have to be getting refreshed here soon at the next music event. We have all this stuff to look forward to coming from Apple. All this stuff. And it's going to be a marvelous year. They've got such a wonderful product lineup that they can pretty much roll us out new products to get us excited every few months. Okay? They didn't mention Apple TV or none of that stuff. Like I said, the Apple TV, Mac Pros, displays, iPods, none of that was mentioned, iTunes streaming, so that tells me we got a lot to look forward to this year, guys, a lot to look forward to, and I look forward to sharing it with you, and thanks for watching. My final opinion on this iPhone, grade A stuff. Everybody else can try to imitate, but that's all they're doing is imitating. This iPhone 4 has finally closed the gap and put Apple back ahead, and that's the way it ought to be because that's the way it should be. OS 10, brothers.